Do you want to know more about the early life of the operator Twitch from Rainbow Six Siege? Well, if that's a yes, I suggest you stick around. Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Different Breed, aka the Zappy Zap, and if you haven't been here before, this channel goes over games through the forms of gameplay, tutorials, and other avenues like this video. So if you haven't seen any video in this series, we're going to be going over Pichon's background and not anything game mechanic-y. If you find yourself in enjoyment at any point, consider sharing this with somebody. So without any further ado, let's find out who Emmanuelle Pichon is, or as you may know her, Twitch. As I just said, Twitch's real name is Emmanuelle Pichon. She was born on October 12th, 1988, which makes her 30 years old now. She was born in a little place where everyone likes to call Nancy, France. Turns out, the town of Nancy is pretty historic, and it should be, since the earliest signs of activity started around 800 BC. The most interesting thing that happened in my eyes was the Nancy Affair, or Nancy Mutiny. This was when there was an attempt to overtake the royal army, but the government still had a few loyal units who laid siege to the town, but that has nothing to do with what Pichon's family valued, which was education, particularly in the math and science. This value led Pichon to be exposed to analytical problem solving at an early state in her life. Turns out she actually liked it too. She also demonstrated a liking for complex robotic systems and mechanical processes that she taught herself in order to become a robotics expert. Her abilities transcended academia. Basically, she's just a really smart girl. Although I don't think she's as smart as Mark based on her profile, but she did use her smarts to get into sponsored computer programming competitions, which led her to join the Army Cadets at age 16. Even though she went into competitions for programming, I believe her strong suit was in the engineering department, and unlike many engineers, she understood people's emotions, and she has a strong sense of what is true. Her view on technology is that it is best when used to improve the quality of life. This principle motivates Pichon in her military service when she first started as an engineer in the French army. I believe her French army experience was in Chad, Africa, where they were having rebel forces attempt to take the capital by force. There were two of these occasions, one in 2006 and another in 2008, which would make Pichon 18 and 20 years old when these happened. Then she was welcomed into the Gigan, or GIGN, at the age of 20, which made her the youngest operative in Gigan. While in Gigan, I believe her experience comes from Libya, Africa, where in 2011, Libya experienced a full-scale revolt. A month after it started, France became the first state to officially recognize the council as a legitimate representative of the Libyan people. The rebel fighters obtained victory 8 months later, with Muammar Gaddafi being killed by the rebel forces. Other than that conflict, we don't really know what else Pichon did with the Gigan, and now she is part of Team Rainbow. Pichon's elite uniform is modeled after the French resistant fighters. These fighters were called maquisards and existed during the Nazi occupation of French in World War II. They were men and women who escaped into the mountains to avoid being forced labor for Germany. In order to not be captured and deported to Germany, they became more organized into becoming active resistant groups. Although Pichon's uniform was modeled after these fighters, it doesn't really look like something that they would have worn. The caps they worn were different from the side cap that Pichon is wearing, and their uniform is much simpler than Pichon's. She looks to be modeled more closely to a second lieutenant from late 1943. But I do guess that Pichon has to put her gadgets somewhere. It's always best to have your gadgets close to you, but if you don't use the gadget, then what's the point? If you liked this video, use the gadget that YouTube gives you and hit that like button. Consider subscribing while you're there too. If you haven't seen any video in the series, you can find them by clicking on the playlist that's on your screen right now. If you want to read more about the things that I've said, links will be provided in the description. So until next time, stay different.